Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another exciting stream. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday, December 23rd, 2021. Can't believe the year is almost over. A little surreal, for sure. So I want to do some fan art again. So we're doing the TIE Fighter, so it's a fun one. So there's a bunch of little great techniques in here again that you guys could really use for a lot of your projects that you're going to do. I'm doing well, Alex. Thanks for asking. Hope everyone else is doing outstanding. So we're going to be, as usual, I'm going to show you guys how I start a project like this. Where do we go? I especially want to show things like this, how I've got beautiful stars in ZBrush right now. Space. That's the wrong one. That's Star Trek. So I want to show some of these techniques because it's actually been pretty fun modeling this with like feeling like it actually is in space. But what's nice about this is you guys can actually use this as lighting information. As you can see, I'm even getting the reflections in the material here for this. So little people maybe might not be aware of this. This is actually an HDRI. You can bring in HDRIs into ZBrush and you can actually use them as lighting information as well. So we're going to start with this is looking at the blocking out and how I do this. I'm going to finish this for sure. I'm having a blast making this, and as a Star Wars fan myself, it's been a lot of fun. So I've been putting all the details in this middle section, so that's done, except I got to do the back. There's nothing on the back yet. I got to get going on that next. And then obviously all the details that are on the wings themselves need to be put on there. So there's no way I'm going to get through all of this in one stream. So my goal will be hopefully I can get this finished up as all the way over break maybe, or we'll see. Maybe it'll only need 2 streams. It might need a 3rd. So I'm going to go through all this though and just talk about some very specific techniques that I'm using at certain points. It'd be beneficial because it's always nice to see things being created from scratch for all of us. Okay, and then as always, I will be monitoring the chat, keeping an eye on it. I'll answer the questions as you guys throw them at me. I'm not going to dodge and weave, so make sure if you have anything that you see that you have specific questions about. This is the beauty of being live. This is why I like to do these streams live. It just gives us so many more ways to communicate. So I really like it. What's going on, Turbo Grapper? I actually, thinking about it, I think I only used the alignment tool once. Actually, I did use it though, and it was great having it. I cannot say I can't tell how many times I've wanted to have an alignment ability inside of ZBrush. So I'm so glad we've got that in there now. Okay, so let's just start first with just how the heck did I get this HDRI space looking thing in there? Okay, and then we're going to start with from scratch how I got to this point. We'll keep this up here on the side, this TIE Fighter over here, so that we can see where we're trying to get to as we're rebuilding this. Okay. So my internet is fluctuating a little bit. I'm just trying to wait and see if I'm getting a better signal. Right now it's fluctuating a little bit. So I'm waiting to, that's why I'm not diving so deep so fast right now. I'm waiting to see where that goes. How is it when I rotate the model? Is it, right now my internet is good. So I'm assuming it's good on your alt side, and your volume, speaker volume is fine, i.e. my voice should be fine for you all. Okay, it looks like it's more stable now. Okay. All right. Okay, all good. Thank you. All right, excellent. So let's start there, okay, with that. And in fact, let's even just start fresh with a new scene from scratch so you guys can see how all of this is done, okay, and what we can go with this. So in fact, I'm going to save something out real quick. I'm going to save out a grid just so we have that, because we're going to get to this part later on, and I've updated this. So let me save out my updated grid here. Okay, we are going to get to that. All right, so let's load a project. I'm going to start with just a sphere. It makes the most sense, obviously, because the main body of a TIE fighter is that spherical shape. I can't hear you, you're in space. Nice, Tyler. I like it. Boom. It's like one of the jokes I would go with. I like it. Thanks for contributing. So I'm just going to start with a polysphere here. Okay, and when I do that, because I'm loading a new project, it pretty much wipes out everything that I've already loaded in the scene that I was working on. Okay, so I'm starting in essence from scratch. That's the one thing that's nice about projects, is they're saving a lot of things, and some of the stuff that we're going to be messing with right now, right away, it's all being saved in a project. It's not going to be saved in a tool. I repeat, it's not going to be saved with the tool. So this is why projects could be beneficial for you all. With that said, projects tend to sometimes get a lot bigger in file size. But I'm at the point where I don't care how big my file is, as long as I get everything that I want back the way I want it, right? Especially when I start adding lights and things like this, okay? So let's start diving into this immediately. All right, so let's do the first the scene. How do I bring in that star? Okay, that's actually going to be in the light palette. Okay, I'm going to close all this up. So this is what you guys will have by default. So we got our default lights up here, which there are 8 lights total. But today we're going to go in a little bit in the light caps, which is just another lighting way to light things inside of ZBrush. Okay, so hey John, I'm living it up. It's an added one stream. So now what I want to do is I'm going to add another rim light to this. I'm a fan of doing this. I'm going to take this light and then move it a little bit there. Just move this. Now, what's going on right now is this particular sphere has matte cap gray on it. I don't tend to work with that, especially when I'm sculpting. For me personally, a lot of times I'll use a basic material because I want to see the lighting actually update on the model. So you can see now as I move the light, it updates on the model. So you got to remember is matte caps do not update with lighting, because the lighting's baked into the matte cap. So that's why I'm going to use a standard material. So that's number one. And this is going to be important for when we start bringing in that HDRI image as well. So I'm going to add another light here. I'm going to click on that and then click again to turn it on. So clicking once, see, highlights a light. So that means that's the selected light. So again, now see, that's the selected light. And then if I click on this, there you go. You have that now as being on. So this is pretty strong now. Like I've got 2 lights in the scene lighting this sphere. So if you go look at, especially, you know, some stuff from space or even in the movies, right? There's going to be some bouncing light happening up there. So I'm going to turn this into a rim light. So number one, I'm going to up the intensity just so we can see what we're really doing here. Let's go all the way to 1. And then I'm going to throw, you know, you can throw a little bit of color in this. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of color just so you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. And then I want this light to be a rim. So I'm going to click on that dot and then now it's a rim light. So I'm just looking for something like that. A little accenting light as if it's coming from somewhere else. You know, maybe it's going to be flying by some moon or something and the light's hitting it right off the moon or whatever it might be. It's space. We do what we want in space. Okay, so this is now a rim light. So in essence, the light is now sitting behind the object, in this case, our sphere. And well, I'm going to keep the intensity pretty high right now, just so we can see what that's doing for us. So, right? So now I've got these 2 lights in the scene. I've got a light, 100 intensity. So when you're at 1, you're pretty much on 100%. And then in this one, it's at 0.85. So I've got, this is my key light, and this is my rim light. Now, so the next thing I want to do is go to the background. And I want to bring in that space. So I actually got these. Let me show you where I got these. I got these off NASA's website. So I went straight to the source here. Okay. So hold on one second. We don't need any of this to be. We don't need this. It's just a waste of space. Okay. So here's where I found it. So if you want to do this too, if this is something that you guys want to eventually follow along as we go, let me put the link in the chat so you got it. So here I stumbled upon this. I was looking for HDRI space maps and I said NASA's probably got some, and they do. So this is where I found it. So this is the one I'm using right here, but there's another one down here too. There's this one as well. So just some fun resources for you all. Like, those are perfect. These are just what I was looking for what I'm making. So there you go. This is where I found it. All right. So let me move this out of the way now. And then now let's bring it in. Okay. So that we can have this come in. To the question that's coming through, do you render in your models here in ZBrush, or you use 3D Max, Maya, Keyshot, etc.? I do a combination of both. I will render either in ZBrush to do certain things, like especially NPR. I really love our filtering system for non-photorealistic rendering. I just really love that. So I render that in ZBrush. But anytime I'm doing a lot of hard surface, I'll do a lot of that in Keyshot myself, personally. And I plan, when I get this TIE Fighter completely done, to render it in Keyshot. And I'm going to do like a clay render. I'll do a turntable and everything, and I'll put it up online so you guys can all see the final version of it as well. Okay. So that's, to answer your question, that's where I'm going. All right. So where we bring in an HDRI image, and by the way, you can bring in a .HDRI into ZBrush. All right. I'm not bringing in an HDRI. It's going to be a TIFF file, but it's better if you're going to do this workflow to bring in an actual HDRI. And what you want to have is a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay. What I mean by that is resolution. So right now I'm going to bring in an image that's 4096 by 2048. Okay. I didn't want to bring in something massive because I knew I was going to be with you all streaming. Okay. So here I'm going to click now this texture, and it's going to pull up the texture menu. And all I need to do now is import, and I'm going to go grab that texture that I downloaded, which I gave you guys that website. Okay. And it's actually a TIFF, and then boom. Just like that, we've got it's the Death Star. Just like that, we're on our way. So it's that simple. And then there's some controls here that I want to adjust. Yes, ZBrush was acquired by Maxon. So yes, ZBrush will be joining the Maxon team. So it's very exciting times, man. I'm telling you. Right now, I can't say a lot due to regulations, but there is so much that is running through my head that's exciting me for things that were possibly going to be coming down the pipeline. So that is something that's going to be very exciting. I can't really say, unfortunately, too much because of regulations. Okay, no, we're not going to lose this channel. I'm on here we're going to be on here all the time. We're not getting rid of this. This is going to be here. This isn't going anywhere. Okay, so don't worry. ZBrush Live is not going anywhere. It's still going to be streaming. We're still going to be continuing on this. Oh, let me turn this stuff off. So we don't need this right now. So actually, I'm going to turn off my quick saves. And we'll do a duration of 40. And then we'll turn off rest nothing. And I'm going to turn off my screensaver for now, just so we don't need that right now. Okay. So this is going to be, again, the image, the background image, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's just got to be pixel wise. You got to have the one size, right? So the geez, talking today, horizontal length has to be twice the size as the vertical. Okay, so like 4,000 by 2,000 pixel range is good. I brought in some like 6,000 range, the 3,000 range. Those are good. Obviously, the bigger you bring in, that's a bigger file coming in, and that's part of what makes your file size go bigger as well. Okay, so now that I have this, for me, here's one thing that's nice you can actually, as you rotate the model, okay, the space scene is actually rotating with us. You can also rotate and change your longitude and latitude here. So you do have this control. You have a tilt control. So it's just doing this as if it's on a sphere. If you don't want it to rotate with the object, then there's where you turn that off. So now when I move the model around, nothing's going to happen, right? So as I'm rotating this, it's hard to see, but if you see my head's turning over here, okay, nothing, so you can see it's rotating, but now the scene's not. Okay, so I'm gonna go with rotation on just to have some fun. So as I'm playing with this, you'll see once we start going at this, it's a lot of fun. The next thing maybe I want to do is, do I want it to be really this much of stars? So I'm gonna come here to exposure, and I can knock down my exposure, and that'll just knock down some of the other stars a little bit. So it's not so powerful in the sense. So obviously you could turn this up, right, and then play with your exposure even more. And really like, whoa. So I wanted just a subtle like space feel. So I didn't want to have that exposure up all the way. So I turned mine down a little bit just so we can play. Like, that's pretty good for me. I'm good with that. Okay. And now the next thing that I want to do is I actually want to take this image, and you can see it's 4096 by 2048. I want to take this image. What's going on, Ro? And I want to now use it for some lighting information. So this is going to be very helpful for us. Oh, hold on, I'm just seeing what the question was. Did I miss a question that came through? Hold on. The sphere, okay. All right. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do now is click on this light caps. I'm going to turn on the reflect part. So I want that to be part. So when you turn this on, and we got a samples of 3, this is actually going to make 8 lights. So this is going to be more lighting that you might want to go and play with. And I did a whole four-part series this year, I think it was, on this channel of advanced rendering. Okay. So I want 8 lights. So there's going to be 4 lights above the horizon line and 4 lights in essence below the horizon line, i.e. bounce light happening. That's what this is going to do. So obviously you go to 4, you're going to get 16. You go to 5, you get to 32. So taking the light information from HDRI, the most we allow is 32 lights at this point in time. So I'm just going to click this, and then boom, now you can see in the sphere, right here, if we go a little bit darker, you can see the stars are actually being reflected in the sphere. So here, if we divide this up more, see? Now you can see the map actually in the sphere. So it's being reflected. So now in light caps, I have, and obviously because it's space, it's not too bright, but I'm getting also in the specularity channel, I'm getting the spec also from this HDRI. You do not have to turn on the reflect. So if you don't turn on the reflect and you make a new light caps, this is what it's going to do for you. So in essence, the difference part is this is still going to be able to take the lighting information, but now it's just going to take the straight lighting information to apply the specularity, and then you have your diffuse channel. All right. And then depending on your material, even though I have a material like this, you can still, and this is where, let's bring this material over, something to have an understanding. In your modifiers, there's an environment reflection here. Okay, so you can see, you can crank this up. And even though I don't have the reflect in the lighting, it's a way to separate, in essence. We gave you the ability, let's put the reflectivity also in the lighting. And the one now I'm doing is, no, don't put the reflectivity so much per se in the lighting. Just take that lighting information and apply it for the spec. And then let the materials control how much of that specularity. So this is going to give you guys a more local control if you turn off that reflect button, because then which material you select is what you're going to control here with your environment reflecting. Okay, so I'm going to go with just, you know, the way I made this one. And I don't know, I want to go that dark. Let's go about there. And in fact, the X-Wing, if you go, I mean the TIE fighters, if you go look at some of the scenes, they have a slight like grayish blue tone to them. And some with the way the light. So I'm going to bring some of that in a little bit just to start also separating that. Okay. So again, I'm going to go ahead and put on reflect and hit light caps again. So every time you hit this light caps button, it's looking at these two options and then remaking the lights down here. So what you need to also understand is, especially when if you guys are going to start using light caps, I'm actually using light caps right now and lighting. I'm using both things right now. So I've got these lights turned on and all of these lights on. You can see there's 9 lights, okay, because there's a middle light being made. And then the thing to also understand here with the light caps, if you're going to start diving into this, okay, each light has different controls. And this is where you can have way more controls with your lighting. You have an aperture control, you have strength controls. This is where you can tell what lights do you want to cast shadows when you go to render. Excuse me. You have an opacity control. What's nice about this is it's separated. So you can play with the light opacity here. It didn't diffuse, but then you can come to the specularity and then you can turn it down here if you want to. Right? You have exposure controls, gamma controls, and the nice thing is you have both channels here. You got a diffuse and you got a spec controlling with all these same sliders. You have blend modes. You can make also a gobo light. So for example here, I'm going to add a new light to the scene. So here's the new light I made. Right? And let's go ahead and put it at 1. So you guys can see some of this. Let's make the aperture a little bit smaller. So here's my light, okay, right there. And so that's my light. The red dot's showing the light that's highlighted. And then you can come down here and you say alpha and make it a, as you can see now, there's 2 squares because one of the squares is on your diffuse and one of the squares is on your reflectivity. So if you come to your spec, you can see the reflectivity that's happening there and then the diffuse. And by the way, really the best way for light caps to have this specularity channel be its best quality is actually looking at it not on a sphere, but looking at it this way. So there's the HDRI. Okay, so I don't know who knew this, so this is why I'm sharing this. So now you can see there's my spec and diffuse, and now they're lining up. Okay, so you can switch to, instead of looking at light caps through a spherical shape, at the actual HDRI. And you just got to click in this top left corner and we'll switch. So see there's a red dot right there. So if you click on that there, that'll switch it from being a spherical, okay, to HDRI. Little fun-filled facts for you all. All right, so you can see what this is doing. We're creating this, and then now this has all these controls. I can change the width if I want to. So there's just so many more things. We can even add a texture if I want to add a texture to this. And then here's where the nice thing, the diffuse, I can say, oh, I don't want the diffuse to be so strong for this. Or maybe I don't even want it at all. Maybe I only want it in the specularity. Right? So now you can start playing and say, I want this to be a bigger square, right, per se. So you can start doing things like this. So now I'm controlling this only in the spec channel because I turned the opacity of this light off in the diffuse channel. Okay, so I'm going to delete this because we don't want that light right now. So this is what I have. I have these 9 lights now, and then we're going to start going, and we've got some reflectivity happening. So let's start getting at this. So there you go. There's some lighting information for you all and how I brought in this scene. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I need some references for myself. So I prefer using the floor grid. It's just something I like to do. I prefer having my model transparent and having the image behind me, behind the scene in essence. It's just what I prefer. Okay, wait, the TIE Fighter screen. Oh, the TIE Fighter screen was covering? Sorry. I was covering all this. Yeah, I forgot about the TIE Fighter. Here, hold on. Let me move it. Let me move it down here, and we'll move it back. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot about this because that's in my OBS. So here is again your information. So you have here. I'll do it one more time. I'm going to create a new light. Okay, so you guys can see that. So here's my new light now that I can move around. I can change that aperture. I can up the intensity, right? So it's really hot. I can tell it not to have shadows, to have shadows. I can play with my fall off. I want it to be really sharp. I can make it really sharp. If I want it to be like just only a pin, right, where it's very hot in the middle, but then it's dispersing out, right? This is what I can do. So you can see all these little controls that I have here. And then obviously, here we're going to put the fall off. We'll come back to 1. And then here's where I can make it a gobo. So I just select on an alpha. So I can grab a square, an example, and now I've got, this is a gobo light. Okay, so now I have a gobo. We'll go bigger. And then now I can move this light wherever I want. So maybe I want something like this. And then maybe I want to tile it as well. So, you know, maybe do something like you're doing automobile. So you want a 4 by maybe 3. You have something like this. So it's like almost, you can see it looks like a window. But this would be a great, where in the automotive world, reflectivity is so important. So they'll roll it into studio lighting where it's got lights like this. This will help hard surface, okay, come forward for you. I have to make sounds, right? Oh, God. I'm trying to even think the TIE Fighter sound. You have no... I literally just want to play Star Wars music right now. Like, that's what I'm doing the whole time I'm making this. I just have the soundtracks of Star Wars, all of them going through. Okay, so there you go. This is... And then I can go to the specularity channel, okay, and then a diffuse channel, and then I can say, again, in the diffuse channel, this light, do nothing in a diffuse, and only use it for reflectivity. So then I can do stuff like this, and then now that's reflecting over on the rims, right? This obviously wouldn't make sense for something in space, okay? But that's what I'm doing. So let's, cool. Sorry, I forgot about the TIE Fighter blocking, you guys. Everyone good on that? All right, so let's go ahead and close this back. And let me, again, move my TIE Fighter so it's over here. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's go. We don't want this light. We don't need that light. Okay. So moving on. So again, I like to use the floor grid for references. There's multiple ways to do this. All right. Jin, to answer your question, unfortunately, I can't talk anything about any kind of development or what's going to happen with ZBrush development-wise at this time. But we will be sharing with you all as the time goes on, okay? Steven, just email me. Let's do this. Life coach, I like it. Let's go. All right, so I like the floor grid. That's just what I'm a fan of. I prefer this. All right, so I didn't get it in time, but it's okay because I'm not done. I ordered a TIE Fighter, like specifically a TIE Fighter book, which reminds me, people, if you guys, I'm sure most of you are Star Wars fans, there is one book that I'm telling you, if you are a Star Wars fan, you have to get this book. And right now, it's like for the US, I don't know about everyone else in the world, but it's as cheap as it's ever been. This book, I'm telling you, is a must buy. Like, you gotta buy this book. Right? If you like Star Wars, like $60 is unheard of, people. So I've got mine right here. Right? So here's mine. I got mine right here. In fact, I ordered another one because it was so cheap, because this one's got a little damage. See, I accidentally ripped the spine a little bit and got a little bit of some water damage here. So I ordered another one. So this is going to be my referencing one. Like, guys, this book's amazing. Like, I'm telling you, like, especially for stuff like this. And I got, you know, things like this. I'm a big art book guy. And then, but, like, see, here, like, we're talking the original drawings of the TIE Fighter. If you look at my webcam. Like, this is awesome. Like, look at this thing. They have stuff like, these are all original drawings from the first 6 episodes. Like, look at that. It opened. It's oversized. It's heavy. It's awesome. And just to give you guys an idea, sometimes this book is selling for $1,000. Sometimes it's selling for a couple $100. I haven't seen it this cheap in probably, I don't know, maybe 8 years. Like when I bought it, it was close to. I paid more than that when I bought it originally. Okay, so hands down here, I'll share this with you. If you're in North America or U.S. Here what is, I don't know what is anywhere else on any other Amazon site, but in the US, or look, you can get it used for 54. There you go. Okay, so but another book. These books are really, really awesome. I have one here. I have one actually for the link. Let me turn off my TIE Fighter right now. Promo image. Okay, so I have also, like, I don't know, like a kid of the 80s. These are the old books that we used to have, that we would go to a mechanic store. Canadian Tire is a Canadian, a Home Depot, right? And then you would get a book on your car, and you can see how to fix in your car. So they've made these books that are like a kind of a thinking that same idea, and then they walk you through the one item, right, and teach you everything. So I got every view of the Millennium Falcon. So one of these days I'm going to do the Millennium Falcon, right? So I got one of these for the Millennium Falcon. So I ordered the TIE Fighter one, which it's unfortunately not going to get here in time. It's not going to get here until, ironically, today. So, womp, womp, womp. This is the one I ordered right here, this red one. So another, guys, this like 16 bucks. They're used for $9.71. Like I'm telling you, there's a lot of great stuff online, but still, looking at this, there's so many different little things that people have for TIE Fighters. This is like based off the original, which I'm going a little bit more towards. Here, I'll put this in here too. So having this kind of resources, I can search online all day, TIE Fighter, and I'm just finding stuff, and I can't find big enough images. At least I'm going to get this book where there is stuff I visually will see that's in this book that I most likely will not find online. I did find some images online of this book, i.e. this is the gold right here. This is gold. So this is part of the reason why I buy books like this, because if I ever want to make this, I've got everything I need. Also, as a person that's also done toys, I've had to do replicants of obviously things that exist. And that's the one thing about toys. In most cases, you're not just making something up, you're making something that already exists and you're just turning it into a toy, either whether it be from a film or whatever else. I've done Transformers, G.I. Joe. It's been all over the map. So it's great having this stuff, because when you're doing stuff like that, you got to be exact. You can't just kind of play. So again, another great book. I think resources are huge for all of us. And I'm just a big art book guy. I've got 2 bookshelves. I got one behind me here, and I got another one over here. So, and my wife's like, what do you need those for? Why do you need another book? I'm like, hey, I'm an artist. I like my books. Okay. Yeah. Ian, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So you know what the books I'm talking about. Okay. So I already saved out a floor grid for this. So I'm just going to load mine so I can walk you guys through this. I'm going to open this up. Okay. Let me move my, I wonder if we can, I should have put this up here. Is what I should have done. I should have made them there. Oh, well. I'm just going to make them smaller. I'm going to put them up here. Just so he kind of stays out of the way while we're doing this. All right. So I'm going to now, we don't need the lighting information anymore. Beep, gone. Beep, boop, beep. Okay. I'm going to now go to my draw palette. Okay. And I'm going to, let's dock it. I'm going to dock it over here. I want to dock it on this tray. Okay. And now I have this in here. And now what I want to do is use the floor grid with images. So there's front, back, up, down, left, right. So I'm just going to open the one I already have, just so you can see where I would go with this. And I'll walk you through a couple things. So now I have these images. And this is what I prefer. I like to look through my model and then see the image behind. I prefer this workflow. So what's really nice about this is I can use this to line things up. So I'm going to up my frame opacity so we can really see. And this is the nice thing about being on a floor grid. I can use the grid itself as a way to line this up. Okay. I could definitely put, yeah, I should have put the TIE Fighter in the cam view. Don't know why I didn't think of that. Okay. And I see someone in the UK found it. I know someone found it in the UK for the same price, right? $34.99. That's ridiculously cheap. Get on that, people. Get on that, 38.99 euros. Holy moly. Okay, so all I've done here is in these front backs, I've brought the image in. Okay. So I've already lined these images in. So let me do this again with you all. Okay. So you can see how this was all being done. So I want to bring a new image in. So you just click on hit import. Okay. And then I'm going to go grab this image again. Let's see, where do let me change my view real quick so I can see the images. There they are. And then boom. So you see if one image is giving me the front and also giving me that side panel. That's for creating the structure. Then this is big for hard surface. I think this is for organic. That I'm blocking out is what I want to do. I want to make sure I start getting the major forms here. And that's what we're going to start doing today. Is that I'm just setting up my scene for you all so you guys can see how I started doing this. So now that I have this image in here, all right, I want to edit it. And so I'm going to say, I want to adjust the image. Okay, and then I'm going to put this all back on its defaults. So we have everything just sitting at its defaults again. And I'm going to hit adjust. That's going to open up the image. What's nice is this image is rather large. And this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for, right? This kind of blueprint look where I can see defining where angles are for certain things that are going to happen on this model. Okay, it's important for me to see all this. This will help me establish the width of things, right? Is there kind of tapering? And this book has all the views. This is why I bought the book. It has every single view that I'm going to need, especially when you start getting into this crazy stuff, right? And then what I'm looking for is, even as we go through this project, I'm looking for repeating things, like and stuff like this. Is it different, this panel different than this panel, this panel, this panel, this panel, so forth, right? That's what I'm looking for. The inside one does have repeating stuff happening in the panel more than the outside resulted one, okay? So, all right, so this is my front view. So what I want to do is start cropping this. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm just going to say, I don't need from there. Okay, that's good enough. Let's go to the bottom. From there, and I'm going to come all the way over, right? So this, okay, here is also a slider. So you can come to here and use this slider and then just start sliding this over until it gets to the point where you want it to stop. So you don't actually have to grab these little circles. You can use the sliders here to stop wherever you want. So it's your preference, whatever you would prefer to do. Okay, so left and right, because maybe this image is so big, so I want to make sure I'm not getting anything cut off there. I say okay, and boom. There you have it. We've got this image. Now it's floating here. The next thing that's going to be important for me is I want to align it with my side image that's already in here. Okay? So here's a fun trick for you all. Here's something for all of you that'll help make things a little bit easier for you. When you scroll over a mesh now, you're going to get protruding lines. Are you guys see everything okay? Do I need to turn the space off? do I need to turn the space HDRI off? Let me know if it's hard to read, because we can turn it off for now. You can model this with all sculpting brushes for sure, but I used a lot of ZModeler on this. Okay, so this is the one update I would love to see. Okay, so FYI, Jin, I don't know if you know this, but FBXs have an update. So if you want to go in Maya and you want to do, like, obviously the image planes in Maya do the same thing, you can now bring all those into ZBrush with the image planes and the camera with an FBX. And then it'll all come down here, so you can actually load image. So there's a popular plugin in the texture palette called Image Plane. Okay, so in essence, what we've now made is made a way cooler image plane. So this image plane just only allows you to have, you know, this number of views. You can have right now up to 64 images and 64 camera views. So you can, in Maya, set up your image planes and with the cameras and export an FBX. And when you import that in, everything comes over into ZBrush now. All the images, all the cameras, and you're going to be able to cycle through your cameras right here. FYI, just so you know. Okay, so all good. So the thing in the back's all good. All right, so now that I have this, I want to use this Okay, so this is what I do. I like to, okay, obviously this is going to be my cockpit. Number one, I'm going to start making a folder. This is really important for me. Okay, and I'm going to rename this. Let's rename this. Where are you? Rename folder. TIE Fighter. Oh, giant. Never a dull moment. TIE Fighter main body. Good enough. All right, and then I'm going to name this TIE body. Here, I'll throw in the word sphere. I tend to, as much as I can, name as I go along just to keep myself going. So I'm going to append a cube. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make the cube be the bounding box, in essence, a little bit of the image, especially this image. So this is another reason why I like using the floor grid, because I will come over here and I'll play with the grid, in essence, here. So I will give me 100% of the image. And then in essence, this is the gradient of, so if you see, this is the gradient of the model. So I'll crank both of these up to 1, because then I'm only looking at, like, I'm looking, okay, this, if this is going to be my main image that I'm going to start lining up with. Okay, so there's the top and the bottom of this relatively. So here we'll get a little bit, if you want to get super extreme with this, yeah, can. Okay, say there. And then I'm going to say the furthest peak point is there. Okay, and then you can see this image is not sitting perfectly in the center. Okay, so if you look at this, if I put this home, there's the center, and you can see the image is off just a bit. Okay, so then I could probably come in here, and this is my left, right, and I can play with my verticals here, and then my horizontals. So I can say, looks like -0.01, -0.001. There we go. It's getting closer. So you can put in specific values here. There we go. So that's more centered. And I would be careful. Don't get exactly married to your images. But the reason why I'm doing this, people, is now you can see I can line up with these lines. Help me figure out, okay, this point, I can start aligning it and looking at it. So now I'd come this way, and let's just go the full width here. And I can see, use that red line and blue line to start seeing, does it line up? Right, so see the red line sitting at the top? So you can see on the one in the front, it's not. So you see that blue line here, let me make sure. So if I'm along this edge, okay, so you see the red line shooting off is matching. Oh, my TIE fighter's in the way again. Okay, there you go. So you see the red line is shooting off perfectly in the blue. So the one image from the front needs a little bit of a scale adjustment, right? So I need to go ahead and I'm going to adjust some scale now to the front. And it doesn't need a lot, like 0.98, probably something like that. There we go. That's what I'm looking for, right around there. And then double, why I also turn up my floor grid, I can use the floor grid itself, right, as a little gauge. I can find that gap right there and get that same kind of gap in there, right? You can even, if you wanted to get very specific, you could use this. You could use your transpose line if you wanted to, okay? So I have this ability here. I can draw this out and then just say, okay, get that there, put that right about there. Okay, so then, and then let's put this one more right there. Okay, so from there to there, 0.0769 units. And then I go and look at the other side. And now I'm just going to move this from the top of the grid. Good to go. The close enough. And then now this direction. I don't need this cube anymore. I'm only making that cube so I have more points. You want more, you want some vertex points, because you can see the brush is snapping to vertex points. So then that's what you're getting with these lines shooting off. It's by the vertex points. Okay? So these protruding lines, you mean you want to turn off the protruding lines? Okay. If you want to do that, it's in your modifiers. There's number 1. Here's your axis keys for your floor grid, number 1. Okay. But each view has a protruding line. Okay. So you see this P line? That's your projected line. So you see the blue one's gone now. So you have to go turn them off on all 3, and then you would have no lines. So here is what makes the blue, red, and green lines, those P line number buttons. Okay. And so there you have it. Okay, by the way, people, don't go anywhere. I'm going to be showing you guys something that we're developing, actually. So I know there's a lot being said on the internet. But guys, we're still developing ZBrush. I'm actually going to show you guys something. I'm in a beta right now, by the way. Okay? So to just help you out a little bit, I'm literally going to show you some things something I'm developing, okay? Just to give you a little teaser. All right, so continuing on. I don't need this anymore. Good to go. So what I want to start doing now is making sure that this image is sitting in the middle as well. Okay, so I can start, messing with this kind of stuff. I like, again, to do this because I just want to look at the outside of the sphere. And then I'm just going to switch to the gizmo. And I'm going to make sure I'm centered. And I'm just going to size down. And all I'm going to do is pretty much try to match. And you can see this image, even though it's great, it's not perfectly matching for me, 100%. So I got to pick a side, the left or right. And in this case, I'm going to adjust this a little bit also horizontal. Just to get that spherical maybe to be a little bit more in the center, a little bit more like that. There. Okay, so then there. Now I have that lined up. The image is lined up for me. Okay, and again, if you zoom in, you can even use this gizmo as a way to kind of get in the middle if you want. And then obviously, you guys can, this is why I'm showing you stuff like these axes, because then they're going to shoot out, and then I can see that green line. Is it going down the middle of this image? Okay, that kind of stuff all comes in handy for us. All right, so there we go. I'm happy with that. We're good enough. So now we got a start. We got a great start to this. We got that spherical shape. Let's start knocking out some more of these pieces. Okay, so the next thing I want to make is the wings, because that's the next major part, and that's going to help me establish the gap between the cockpit and then getting all this stuff in here mapped out and getting that correct. Okay. Is there a solution? If you're using, okay, so if you're using Shadowbox with this, there is this. Okay, so there's snap to axis. So when you turn on Shadowbox, this is on by default. So if you're doing Shadowbox, it's going to snap the grid to the size of the Shadowbox. So you'll want to turn that off, and then maybe you want to snap it to the mesh, or snap it to the axis, or snap it. So in essence, all subtools. Snapping to the mesh is just individual. So like if I did this, see, it went to the mesh size now. See, everything got changed to the size of that. Okay. Follow, right? So this is, so you might want to try this. Okay, so you can have these. This is individual mesh, all subtools, and then axis, and then this is doing for Shadowbox. Okay, so let me now that I ruined that, let me reopen. And this is why you want to save out your grid. Also, the actual saving of your project is going to do this as well. So let's crank this back up. Let me realign this front image some more, because this is not centered. This one's not centered. So let's go right about there. And then come this way. Here we go, 0.006. There we go. Okay, so we got that back. All right, and then there's those. Okay, so I'm all set. So let's make this now. Let's make the wings next. So I'm going to append a cube here. I'm going to switch down to my tablet. whoosh sound effects, right? So hopefully that answered your shadow box question that came through for you. All right, so I don't like to use this cube. I don't want like a cube that has poles in it and everything. Okay, I don't want that. So I'm gonna switch this out for this cube. And for the sake of making it easy, I'm gonna get rid of all of my vertical, horizontal lines here. And then now let's just quickly, this is super easy. Now all I gotta do is just, let's match the size. So I'm gonna zoom in here in the top. I'm going to unmask. And just so I can get in here, I can say, okay, I want to go that high there, right? And then let's inverse the mask. Let's bring this down here. And then from the bottom, it goes to there. Okay, and then I'll unmask, clear that out. And then the furthest peak is out here. So right there. Okay, good. So now that I have this, the next thing I want to do is start lining this up, okay, for the front view. So, and again, I'm going to look at what's going to be important for me, everybody, is when I'm doing this, I'm also going to look at the axis of the world. So again, let me make this bigger. So that red line, that green line, and that blue line are very important to me. These lines here, okay? And I'm going to now tell ZBrush, let's go ahead and get on the positive side of the world. So I'm going to go to here. And then now I'm going to recenter this. And let's just start looking at this and seeing, okay, this has a defining width to it. So I'd say from there. And let's now move this side. This is why I like going low, low, low polygon. Because there's literally only... right? There's only 8 vertex points that I'm looking at right now. Okay, so I got all the way to the top. Perfect. All the way there. Bingo. Outstanding. Looking great so far. So now I'm going to say, all right, I want just on an edge. Excuse me. Hold on. I got to sneeze. Bless me. Going through the middle. So I can do this 2 ways. I can just use ZModeler and set my settings to this. And I'm even going to turn off the keep polygroup. I don't need that. And then I'm going to click. And then now I got a line going through here. Right? So then this is where I'm going to start bringing back some of the model and dropping the image a little bit so I can see that line. I can use that also to center the image now. Right? So you see it's a little bit off. It's not a lot. But, you know, if I want to be picky, okay, I probably want to come in now, this left and right, but I'm fine with it. It's close enough for me. All right, and then this is just a simple now, let's just mask these points, come back to the gizmo, and let's just start pulling these in to give me that wing. There we go. Got it. So there's the start of that wing that I have. All right, and then now I want to start building more with this, okay? I want to be able to start doing a little bit more with that. I know down the line, I'm looking at things like this, okay? This repeating kind of fanned out part. So I want to set myself up with this. I want to be thinking about this kind of stuff as I move along, but let's just start making some details here. All right, so I'm going to say... I'm going to turn off the floor grid, so we're just looking at this. Let's go ahead now and make another folder here, and we're going to call this Wings, not the band, Wings, not the Paul McCartney. Okay, we're going to call this Main Middle Wing. And now I'm going to duplicate this. So let's go ahead, and you're going to see why I'm doing all this. I'm going to duplicate that. Let's put that in the folder. And main wing frame is what I'm going to call this one now. Thank you for the bless you. So now that we have this, I'm going to start looking at, okay, I need to make this framing that's going around. So that's an easy thing. ZModeler, hover over a face. I'm going to go inset. I'm going to just keep everything at its default. except that I want to do flat island. Because I want, there's two faces here, okay? And so I'm just going to click until I see that other vert. There we go. So there's that. And then I'm going to tap here and get it on the other side. So there I have, that is now this portion. Okay, looking at stuff like this. Right, and then now I'm going to say, let's Q mesh now, and let's get rid of that. So now I've got just the frame. So now if I turn this back on, I've got this middle portion, and I got a frame. Okay, so I'm going to make this middle portion. Let's just go ahead and just squeeze it in a little bit right in there. Good. Okay, and now let's start adding some more elements to this in here. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's see what we got here. And let's turn the floor grid off. And I'm going to start setting myself up for Bevel Pro. Okay. So what I mean by that is I want to start thinking about what I want to start happening with the Bevel Pro. All right. So I'm going to go with first saying I want that to be a new polygroup. I want that to be a new polygroup. I want that. I want this. So all I'm doing is I'm holding the Alt key and then tapping again. See, every time I tap, I change the polygroup. That's all I'm doing. I want different polygroups outside there for each one of those planes. That's what I'm looking for right now. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and add some of the element in here as well. So back to the floor grid. Right, there's clearly like a stepping pattern kind of thing happening, right? There's levels happening through here. So I want to start doing those as well. So looking at this, I'm going to say, all right, let's insert a single edge loop. Let's do one that's like this. Let's do another one maybe like this. Okay, so I got this. And then now, remember that red line? This is why that red line's important to me. Right? So I can mirror and weld. Okay, so that's going to give me this. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on local first and mirror and weld. So I'm actually mirror and welding both sides of this now. And then now if I turn local off and mirror weld, I get the other side. Right? So now I have both sides. Now here's something that I'm going to do from here on out for this particular model. This is really beneficial for me. So I want not only ability to have a mirror and welding here, or in essence have the ability to work on both sides of the one left wing, screen left. I want that same thing happening also on the right. So in essence, I want double symmetry. So I'm going to now come through here and I'm going to throw on some array mesh. So I'm going to throw those 4 buttons on the top. Is the background make anybody else seasick? I can make it so it's not like that. We can do that if it's bothering. I don't want it to bother you all. So here, let me go to the background. Let me find, where's that little, there we go. And here I'll turn off rotation. So there you go. So now rotate on you. Okay, so then what I'm going to do here is, and the reason why I'm turning the transpose line, because the transpose becomes in essence the GUI. You can control your array mesh this way, and you can see where my pivot is. So I'm going to hit reset, and you can see it sets it to the middle, and now I'm just going to mirror across the X. And so what I have here now is I have a left and right, but really I'm only working on this model, right? So now if I turn on symmetry, so let's go again in transform, right? Right here I want symmetry, and then I'm going to say local symmetry. And so now I'm locally on this side and this side. So now I can say, hey, I want now Q mesh poly loop. I want this to come out like that. Something like this. Okay, so now this is all automatically going to happen on the other side for me. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so something like that. And again, I'm going to go ahead and say I want different polygroups. Okay, so I'm going to make all these have different polygroups to them. You're going to see why I'm going to be doing this in a little second here. Oops. So again, just going through here, holding the Alt key and then just tapping. Every time you tap, you get a new polygon. I'm going to turn off the floor right now because it's making me seasick. Well, okay. Might help if I do a single polygon. All right, so let me make sure all those have different polygroups. And I'm doing this because I'm setting myself up for when I go into Bevel Pro. There's a reason why I'm doing this. All right, and then that one's different already. And then I'm going to do it inside as well. And it's easier to do this on low polygons. So it makes it a lot faster. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now that I have this, let's go ahead and start now doing some other things. I'm going to start creasing this. Okay, so I'm just going to say crease all. So everything's creased. I'm going to turn on dynamic subdiv now. And then I'm going to drop my crease level down to something like 2. And then put this at 4. And then this is the kind of stuff that'll start happening. So it's starting to round things off. This is a little too rounded for a TIE fighter. Okay, so now I'm going to say, let's go crease level 3. Still a little too much. Maybe let's go 4 and up to a 5. Like, that's a little bit better. Okay, but here's our problems. We are having this happening. Okay, we've got this here, corner happening, and I'd want it to stay a little bit more sharp like it does in the original. So we're going to use Bevel Pro here in a little bit to solve this. But before we do, what's important is that I start blocking out as much as I can right now to make sure I get everything right. Okay, yes, there's a way to clone a texture inside of ZBrush. Absolutely, 100%. Okay, so if you want to clone a texture, just go to the texture map menu, okay, and then there'll be a clone. So it's going to be up in here. That we used to have it in there. So if you have a texture, right, and then you want to be able to get another texture in essence, right? You want to be able to have the texture itself. So if you go to here, then go here to texture. Okay, well, I need UVs. Might help here. Let's do it this way. So right here, there's a clone texture. So there's a way you can actually clone a texture in that sense. Okay. Could have swore we put it in here too, but no, we didn't. Okay, so there you go. There's a way to clone your texture. All right, continuing on. Let's turn this back on. Let's continue mapping this out. So I'm going to need my floor grid again. I'm going to adjust my floor grid once again. I want this all the way and this all the way down. Let's start making some more pieces. So there's a cylinder piece going through the middle. Okay, so that's going to be, I'm going to insert or append another cylinder. So there's this cylinder, and we're going to call this, hold on, let's rename this. And then folder it. And wing, let's put between wing and body pots. All right, and then now I have this cylinder. So let's get this correct to the right view that I want. So I want it doing that. Right, and then I'm gonna size it way down, and we're gonna start stretching it out till it gets to in the middle, And then using this and this, I can see in here and here. So I need to go bigger this way. Okay, but now there's also things like this. Okay, where you guys can actually scale in 2 axes. Okay, so you can see this. I'm scaling, here, let me turn off the floor. I'm scaling in 2 axis points. So I'm not scaling this way, right along the X. And that's really what I want. I only want to, this is sitting now in a spot where, okay, I just want this, in essence, this direction. I just want it to touch. Yeah, that's enough right there. I just wanted to touch that. Okay, and then now looking at my image, I want to now go along a certain axis. Okay, but what I need to do is turn on smoothness. Okay, because that's going to make a difference. And I'm going to go ahead and crease the ends. And then now if you look, again, following this is my mesh, this is my mesh. If you hold the Alt key, whoops, might help if I click on the right one. See, I can scale this tube up and down along the 2 axes. There you go. Again, Alt, and then clicking on that will give you guys this ability in here. So I'm going to go somewhere right around there. And then I know it's not coming away from this part over here. That's the point of that. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing a tutorial on how I'm making a TIE fighter. Yeah, I think people are jumping in. I tend to poly paint a lot if I need it. But obviously the hard surface, to be able to hard surface, there's not really a lot because it's hard surface. There's not a lot of colors usually in hard surface pieces. If you go look up anything, it's usually maybe 4 or 5 colors, anything you see hard surface, at most. And the TIE fighters, it's like, it's really just different materials and like 2 or 3 different colors. That's it. A fourth if you want to throw in the red lights in the back and then the green where the lasers are green. Okay, so moving along. Now that I have that, that's good. You notice I'm getting both sides left and right already. So I made that tube just go through the whole thing. I'm planning on 3D printing mine, of course, for those that know me, turning it into a nice Christmas ornament. So I'm keeping solid meshes as I'm building this. Okay. So now I want to start adding some more of these other elements. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's start doing this portion through here. Right, so this has got 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's something that's going to be nice. So this is going to be insert a cube. Whoops, insert a cube. All right, and I'm going to rename this as well. Let's call this, I don't know what to call this. Let's call this large fin. Whoa. Fin. And once again, I'm going to switch to this cube. This is the cube I would prefer. Let's now size this down to where I want it. And this cube has no geometry going through the middle of it, which is nice for changing. And now I just need to go, all right, I'm going to resize this down here. And I'm going to do something like this. So it goes to there. All right, we don't need it to be that long. Like, right. That's, so this is all I'm doing is I'm just readjusting. There, that's good. Let's bring these points down now. Get that angle that I want. And also bring that point in. And then now let's bring these up a little bit. Start matching that angle a little bit more. Just quick adjustments like this. Okay, so turn off that. See what I got going on there. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to reset this and then I'm just going to unmask this. And then This has got a certain thickness. This is why having an image from above, from this book, would be amazing. Okay, to have that. Okay, so this has got some pretty, it's relatively thicker like that. Okay, and then now I want to make sure it goes all the way into the cylinder. So I'm going to take these points and just push them so something like that. So there's that. Now, I need to see this in all the other spots. Okay, so once again, I'm going to use array mesh. And you guys are going to see the benefit of this. Because when we start doing something now, I'll show you one benefit to this is now, we're going to go to array mesh. Array mesh, array mesh, array mesh, array mesh. Let's turn this on. Once again, I want 2 of them. Right, so I'm going to say repeat 2, reset, and this time I'm going to mirror over the Y. So now I have that. I'm going to append a new, and then I'm going to, so again, you want to see where your pivot points, see this one's sitting at the middle. So now I just need to mirror over the X, and then there you go. So I've got all 4 in the exact same location, but I only have 1. What is really nice about this now is whatever I'm going to do with this one. So for example, I want to now crease this all, turn on dynamic subdiv. Let's put it at 4. Let's put my crease level at 3. And now this is happening automatically to all of them. And what's going to start becoming nice for us as we go along in this pipeline is when you guys start getting to things like this, whenever I insert here, boom, it's on all 4. Right? And then now the beauty of this is, watch this. I can even say, because the TIE Fighter has stuff like this, whereas particularly these parts, they're the same in all 4 locations. Not only 4 locations, but the front and back as well is the same. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here to Symmetry and say, let's go Symmetry along the Z. And so when I do stuff like this, see, I'm getting it on both sides. And then I'm getting it on all four quadrants. So this is going to make my workflow so much easier for me. So it's a no-brainer not to do this. Okay, hold on. I'm just reading. John, what do you ask? Can you refresh lock size, lock? You mean refresh what it does? Is that what you're asking? What exactly those do? Is that what you're asking about? Okay. So you're asking, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, let's do it. Here, and then we'll come back to this. Beautiful. It's already a TIE fighter. Very, very poor TIE fighter. Right? So here, let me just mirror and weld this over because my visual eye needs this. Okay, all right, there we go. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you guys something else we're going to do with the lighting. Okay, to your question, let's just grab a cube. All right, and let's go ahead and make that a polymesh. This will be visually easier for you to see this. All right, so let's turn on array mesh. Okay, let's just turn it on. Let's just make 6, and let's offset it along the X. Okay, so what array mesh is going to do for us is giving us a repeating pattern where everything, okay, has array mesh does weld. Yes, it does. It can if you want it to. I'll show you that too. Right? So if you have this, well, it doesn't weld vertex points, but it has another type of welding. So this gap is the same everywhere. So what's happening here is, here, we'll just make this be 8, 8. So this is saying 6, so it's dividing 6 into 8 and saying, okay, give that amount of gap between each one. So in essence, move each one of them the exact same distance, one from another, from another, from another. So there's a bounding box now of the mesh. This mesh is so big, so that gap is being based upon the mesh size. So if you start to do something like here, we'll move infinite depth. And if I go now and I start moving this, you'll see that the objects are moving. They're moving because now the bounding box has changed. So therefore, the gap doesn't change, but the bounding box now has changed. So we're updating the array mesh based upon the bounding box. And in this case, I just made it bigger. Vice versa, if I start going the opposite direction, okay, you can see, you're going to start doing this. At some point, see, they move closer and closer and closer to each other because the bounding box keeps changing. So this is what lock size helps with. So if I turn on lock size, okay, you can see now it doesn't change. So when this is locking the size down means, okay, this mesh started as a cube. Lock it down. Lock it down. Okay, this is definitely Elisa needs braces moments happening up here, along with this is here for the users. Okay? So that's what that does. It locks down the size. Okay? Now, if we go backwards here, let's go backwards. Let's put this at 0. I think the best way to show this other one for you is this. Let's go to rotate, and let's rotate along the Y 360 degrees. So now you can see there's 6 of them, and it's making like a beautiful star, shapey snowflake, and tangent, and it's an inception tangent too. So all these cubes are sitting in the same place right now in the world. Okay. When I now switch to say something like a gizmo, see they move as a unit. They're doing this because the position's locked down. I mean, the position's not locked. Right? It's just like wherever I'm moving, you move with this. If I lock the position down, now I'm locking the position of each one of these almost as individual. So when this is moving in space, they all got to move. Hold on, let me take a moment. That was not planned, but it's a horrible joke because I got the space background. I said moving in space. Take a moment, people. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. So now this is locking down, in essence, each cube's position. So that's why they can actually separate now. So I tend to almost all the time, I'm going to tell you, at this point, I almost feel like we should just make this the default. I'm usually having lock position, lock size on. Very rarely do I not have those 2 buttons on when I'm messing around with a ray mesh. I'm glad some of you like my real bad joke thing. No, unfortunately, I won't be streaming tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. Okay, so there you go. John, does that help? Does that answer your questions more? What the difference between lock size and lock position is? Oh my God, John, yes. Oh, we will find a Spaceball reference. Don't you worry. We're in the now. You mean the now? Well, now we're in the now, the future. That was then. This is the now. Oh! Don't even going on Spaceballs. May the Schwartz be with you. I am always a knee slapper. Okay, so John, I'm assuming that answers your question for you, right? Let's get back to the model. Okay, so now, as I'm rotating this model, the one thing that I would like to be able to do is, see this little star is the perspective. So you see, once I turn perspective on, that's when you can get the reflectivity of the HDRI in your model. So see now as I'm rotating, is reflecting. And I'm only bringing this up because the one thing that we're going to want to do is in the light palette, there's this distance. And this is in essence kind of controlling the bend of the light. So I'm going to even make it 80. So it's going to get more and more of the image. So see, it's getting more, like in essence, it's getting more of the image to be bent on this. So if I keep going lower, here, let's go all the way down to 40. See, there's more of the star shape, see? And you can even see that light better now. So if you guys want, you can change how this reflecting bend's happening on the mesh with this distance. Okay, so I didn't want it to be that. This was good enough for me. So I set mine to 80. This is only going to work when you're in perspective mode, which is fantastic for rendering. So a little more information for you. Okay, let's continue working here. Let's continue going on as we go on here. All right, now let's keep making these pieces. It's really about blocking stuff out for me, making sure I get all the pieces that I need here. So let's start going at this. All right, and let's start saying, okay, let's get another one of these tubes. Let's duplicate that. Let's rename that. Inner cylinder. All right, and then this, I want this to be, here, we're going to turn off the floor. This is what we have. This needs to be a lot more tighter something like this. And I'm actually going to get rid of these edge loops on this model. So I'm going to switch and let's turn the texture off. I'm going to switch out of here to ZModeler and then just delete these. By the way, you can also, here we'll quick save this. If I want to delete all those edge loops real fast, there is in geometry, in this particular scenario, what's the scenario? What's the scenario? If you go to edge loops, you can delete loops and see it did them all at once. So this delete loops has an angle and ratio, so you can delete your loops. Okay, so that makes it easy because what I'm looking to do is let's turn that floor grid back on, that perspective or floor grid, and then this piece, I need this piece here to start being something. So let's start now with something more like that. So this is going to be this piece here. And once again, I'll mask this off, shape this down. Okay, here's another example of having multiple axis points for scaling. So there, that width isn't changing. And then now I've got that, perfect. And you can see that kind of is repeated right there again, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's also array mesh this. You don't have to array mesh this. I'm just deciding for this project, I'm doing array meshing. It's this decision I'm going with. And now let's duplicate this one and boop, and call this one outer. Rename. Our cylinder. Okay. And let me see how we're doing time. Wow, I've been talking a lot today. And now let's take this to here, and I'm gonna want this to move to there. Right? And then you can see I'm already getting it on the other side because I'm array meshing it. Ba-ba-bam! So I'm gonna say right about there. Perfecto. Love it. Okay, and now my next piece is, say, this piece right here, which is going to be nice about this is I'm going to start doing some duplication real fast. So let's insert. Let's go ahead and insert a cube. Makes the most sense. I don't like this is the word. The renaming becomes difficult. Main. Oh, it's hard. My Cintiq's in the way. Main piece. Let's keep it shorter. Main part. Wing. Okay, and let's go ahead and replace this cube with this cube. Right, and then let's pull this out here. Let's start sizing that up. And now I need to make this comes to here. Okay, let's go all the way top, something like that. And then the image is off just a little bit for me. So I'm going to use the top portion to start lining this up for me the best that I can. So I'm using that. And then this, see, I'm getting both sides already. And then obviously to get the other side, we know from my project here, I am using array mesh. And of course I could just copy and paste this instead of me keep doing this. So now there is that. All right, and I need this part ends right there. Okay, and let's actually, no, actually let's do this. Let's use this instead as a way to do that. Okay, and now I need some edge loops to support what I want done. So I'm going to go back to ZModeler. So we'll turn off the floor so you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to say insert multiple edge loops, single, keep the polygrouping the same. So I want that there. Now I want to work symmetrically along the Y. I'm going to go along the Y. I'm going to do a single edge loop. Just one. And let's go ahead and take a look now, put our floor grid back on. And those need to live right there. So let's bring some of this back in there. Okay. And then now this, whoops, is going to be this portion right here is going to get pulled out, right, to start giving me, let's turn our floor grid back on, this angle that I want to start getting through there. Okay, so now I have that, and definitely need to work on this. Symmetry coming in handy already. And then I'm going to turn on local sim so that when I pull in like this, it's happening. So I am getting multiple symmetry right now is what's beneficial for me right now. Okay, so I'm getting symmetry across here. I'm getting symmetry up in the top and left to right. I'm getting multiple symmetry points. This is kind of why I like to use the array mesh for me. All right, and then we need, here we'll solo this out, and then I need this, and we're just going to Q mesh that out. Boom. Right, let's turn that floor grid back on. And then clearly this doesn't go that far, because I'm going to go right about there. And we need these now to move in to create that angle. And I'm going to go like that. And there's this piece that we got going on now. Right, and then now I'm going to say this has an angle to it. Okay. So there's an angle that's going to start needing to happen here, because there's a peak point in this particular piece. So I'm going to go ahead and let's crease it. Crease! I like to get going on this. I'm going to do a crease all for now. And I know I want to drop that to probably 3, turn on dynamic. So I just start softening that up a little bit. And let's take now, we'll center this. I don't need symmetry. Okay, so you want to make sure you have symmetry off. And I'm going to use a deformer. And I'm going to go symmetrical, whoops. I'm going to go symmetrical front to back. And let's go symmetrical. Keep grabbing the wrong one. Let's go symmetrical also here. So I want to take, here, we're going to solo this out. I want to take this portion right here, and then I'll just start pushing it in, because it should start getting pushed in. Something more like that. There's an angle to it in the real one, in real life. Okay, and then now let's take the middle portion, and I can start pulling that out a little bit more. And let's now even just take this, and now I want symmetry back on. Beep, beep, beep. And we'll go along the Z this time and start just adding out. It does something like this in real life. Well, not in real life, because it doesn't exist. Okay, so I'm just refining my shape a little bit here. And I want these to also, okay, make sure I have my symmetry on. Let's see, symmetry along the Z. Oh, yeah, I don't want along the Z. I want along the Y. And speaking of that, let's also do Z. Let's do 4 points of interest. Get a little bit of an angle. Don't be shy. Oh, let's also make sure I grab those points too. Something like that. There we go. Okay, there is that. So there's that piece. Now what's cool about the TIE Fighter is there are a lot of repeating elements, i.e. what I just made there and what I made there actually repeat. Okay, so they have right here is also this, and this right here is this. So I'm just going to reuse this now. I'm going to duplicate these, and then I'm going to rename this one. Well, I got to get to my keyboard. Off wing. Right, and then now all I need to do is say, all right, it rotates first of all. So let's turn symmetry off. We need to rotate this way 180 degrees. And then solo, we need to rotate this way 90 degrees. And solo that out. And then now just move them where they belong. Okay, so then there's that one. And then this one has a more extreme slope happening here. So I'm going to, once again, use my deformer. This time, we're just going to turn all the symmetry points off and then do this. Keep it just really simple. So there's only those number of points happening. And now we'll just only go here. And I'm going to move these 2 points and start making them do something like that. There, so there's that piece. Okay, so now I got that in place where I want it. And then now, if you remember again, I said, where are you? This piece right here is being repeated as well. So let's duplicate that, rename that, large fin off wing, so I know which one is what. And then this one also needs some rotation happening to it. Okay, but what's different now about this one is, you know, you've got multiple points. If remember, here, we solo this out. We've got this array mesh happening. Okay, so we need to reset. I need to rotate this direction. Then I need to rotate, let's see, this direction. Okay, so you can see, remember, there's 4. So if we're looking at this imagery, I'd want to move these here, right? But now, what's happening here is I've got symmetry axis points going across a certain way. So when I rotate this, it's just rotating the model like that. Okay, so what I want to do is make a little adjustment here to my array mesh. All right, so let's just delete them for now. And what I want to do is now I just want this to rotate 90 degrees this way. And then let's turn on my floor again. And I'm going to move this to down to there. And then it needs to come off and do something like that. So I'll zoom in a little bit more so I can see what I got going on here. So there. All right, so that's that portion. I'm not really too concerned about this kind of stuff happening right now because all the stuff within the, you know, the inner parts of the wing. Okay, so now that I have this, I want to now turn my array mesh on, and then let's do this again. But this time, I want to do the first one along the Z. Right, so here we'll turn on again the so we can see where our pivot point is. I'm going to reset it. That puts it back to the middle, and then mirror along the Z. Make a new one, and then now this one mirror along the X, and then there you go. Okay, again, the benefit of all this, people, you're going to see as I adjust this one, they all adjust. So i.e., when I go to make this other little part, this little portion right in there, okay, I'm going to say insert, I'm going to say multiple edge loops, interaction, so I'm going to say, okay, that big, then I'm going to say insert a single edge loop, and that needs to go right here. You know what? I'm going to make my life even easier. I'm going to use the slice this time, just to change it up. Change it up. I'm going to mask that off, and then do a slice right there because that's where I want the edge loop to be. And masking it off allows me not to change the poly group. Okay, and then now I can crease all, and then now I just pull on this face, and then crease all, and then I'm gonna throw in a little extra. I want this to have, so we're gonna solo out, and I'm gonna switch back to my gizmo, and I'm gonna click on this point while I'm holding the Alt key and snap to that point. That aligns the gizmo along that path, so that when I do this, I get a little bit of an angle right there. And again, the beauty here, people, is it's now happening everywhere. So the whole idea here, I want to speed up my workflow. This is the whole idea. I want to try and get faster and faster in my workflow. So this is where I'm using array mesh more as a workflow thing than anything else. Okay, so let's get into what I want to show you guys before we call it. So we've got this piece, we've got this piece. Okay, so remember, I was smoothing this, okay, and then I want to keep this kind of sharp, but not really sharp. I want to have some roundness here, and in all fairness, I want to have roundness in other places. So let's just look at only this. Okay, I want to have roundness in other places, and let's, for the sake of just visually, let's just go ahead and delete array mesh. So we're just looking at that. So remember, I made polygroups to try and help me. So what I want to do now is, and this is why I would not do this until I got most of that block out, which you can see I got most of the shape, the main part of the TIE Fighter blocked out today with you all, right? These are the main pieces, and then you're going to start adding the secondary main pieces to make sure all this works together, okay? Yeah, you can align a gizmo, so let me do it again so you can see it. And, well, in fact, I'm going to do it this way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the smooth in the divide, the SMT, and I'm going to divide this up. So I just start getting a lot of topology. In essence, like topology like this. I start getting more and more topology. And you can align the gizmo or the transpose line. If you hold the Alt key, the gizmo snaps to that vertex point and adjusts based upon that normal. However, if you hold the Alt key and you keep moving, and my finger's still on Alt, see where that crosshair is? See, the gizmo's pointing towards it. If I now make that crosshair go to a vertex point, boom, it snaps. Like this is a little Lisa needs braces moment. That's a little one. It's a little one, but it's huge how often I use this. I use it a lot. I use it a ton. Okay, so again, hold the Alt key, click on a point, start dragging, and snap. Snap! And then you have that. So I'm going to keep dividing this up. Let's get this up to something a little bit more interesting. That's probably enough. Okay, and I've got this piece now here, ready to go. Let's send it to Bevel Pro. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I deleted the subdivision levels. I don't care because I'm going to delete them anyways. So in Subtool, we're going to go Bevel Pro, and I'm going to launch... What's happening now? Okay, maybe not. I don't know. Also, of course, in a stream, it stopped working, even though I was using it right before. Hold on, let me see. Give me a second. It's just one of those days. I love it. Working perfectly fine until the stream makes perfect sense. It's scared. It doesn't want to come play. Everything's there. Hold on, I'm going to restart because there's no reason why this shouldn't be launching. Okay, hold on. Let me save this. Let's do a quick restart here. Because everything is there. Because actually, I want to show you guys something in Bevel Pro specifically. Quick saves. All right, there's my quick save. All right. Let's see. Now I'm going to try, if this doesn't work, I'm going to try one other thing here though. Perfect, Bevel Pro. Huh. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna reinstall something. Sorry, I don't know why it's not working. Doesn't make any sense. Hold on 1 second, please. Working perfectly fine this whole time. And now it's getting scared. All right. Let me reinstall that. Never fails. Okay, let's just do this. Let's just take for giggles. Let's take this mesh. There we go. There we go. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. All right, here you go, people. We've added something to Bevel Pro. This is in development, mind you, okay? So there's going to be things that will change as we go through here, okay? So we now have chamfering. Okay, so besides beveling, you now can actually chamfer, and there's even a low polygon mode now. And there's some other things. So now if I auto apply, we get roundness instead of a flat. Okay, so this is currently in development. You guys are going to have the ability now with Bevel Pro to not only have a bevel, but have a nice chamfering roundness. Right, so this is what I want to use. Instead of having a, you know, sharp flat, I want to have, okay, I don't want that. I want that. Okay, so let's try the model again. Maybe there's just something going on with the model that I'm not seeing. So, because I'll pull up my model and I'll show you how it looks on my model too. Let's see, let's try this again. Let's try this one again with this model. Here we got some dents. So something is going on here with this model and something else. So let me pull up mine that I actually used it on. And then I can show you guys. So here's mine. Okay, and where I'm at right now with the details. And here is this piece. And you can see that I'm getting roundness there and there. Right? So there is the result from Bevel Pro. Okay, and you can make it so it's not triangulated now as well. So right now, I got it triangulated. You guys are even possibly gonna have the ability where you can tell something the mesh result can be all triangulated or quadded as well. It's something that we're working on. So I have, here, let's try my version of this. That went over fine, as you guys can see. Delete the lower. So this is what I sent it originally. Okay. And let's see now if this will work. Okay, that one's working. I don't know why the other meshes are working. I'm gonna have to look into that. And then now we have, these are over in here. Okay, and then now, just like you guys are used to, you're gonna need the, I'm gonna probably put this at 0.06. I'm looking at those red dots, and I'm looking for that, the pink part. Right, and then I wanna make sure that there is enough of that there, maybe a little too much. And then now I can auto apply so I can see what they're looking like. Okay, and then you can see that is now rounding. And what's nice, there's now a low polygon mode. Okay, and you're gonna see that right there? Because when you start chamfering, there's smoothness happening. That doesn't happen when just going straight flat from one point A to B, right? And there's now some roundness happening. So I can tell ZBrush, it's like, hey, look, there is a defining edge right here that's creating this. So how about now you pay attention to it? So low polygon mode is going to, when you're chamfering, allow boom, snapping like that. It's going to come in very, very handy. Okay, so now you have something like that, which is very nice to have this. And then obviously if I say okay, that's going to get booted back over in there, and then there's my result inside of ZBrush. Okay, so your Bevel Pro now has a chamfering ability. And in fact, let me look at one more thing. I might be able to show you guys something else that is being developed. Just since we're talking about it, This is obviously not available to the public yet. So I'm going to see if I can get one more thing for you all. Hold on, give me a second. I'm going to close this down. And let's see. Let's get this one. Let's switch the view. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourself. Exciting times. You guys are seeing actual development stuff right now. How fun is that? Okay, hold on. I'm going to see. Let's copy this. I feel like we're having some fun here, so I'm going to add. I think I'm going to add a little bit. Show you guys a little bit more here. Let me delete this one. Let me delete this one. Boom. Let me talk amongst yourself. So my goal here is having this TIE fighter all built for us inside of ZBrush, and then the continuing streams all will continue to build and show you guys how I did the details and everything else as well. So you guys can see that. I can't tell you anything about updates. We just released a version, so it's not going to be, I couldn't tell you when the updates are coming because we just had this version come out. But obviously ZBrush now tells you when there is an update, right? So let's see, did I grab the, let me see if I grabbed the right one. Yeah, here you go. More bonus here for you all. So not only are you guys now going to have this chamfering, okay? I'm just going to show it on this because it's visually easy for you all to see right now. Right? So, and again, this is in beta right now where we're developing this. So some of this UI could change. Note, some of this UI can change. So I'm gonna, oh shit, I don't want to, okay. So the mesh comes over, right? Now that we have these two meshes that you can bring over. And you can see it's all triangulated. See the triangles inside, triangles outside. It needs two pieces in order to do this correct, okay? So let's send this back again. And then now this time, let's turn on auto apply so you guys can see this. So this needs to go up more, 0.6, 0.9. Okay, and then now what I'm going to do is there's advance. So you guys are gonna have even the ability to tell not to have triangulated. So you can have a mesh that can be triangulated or not triangulated. So if I now send this, it's a little aggressive. Yeah, that's better. Send that. Okay, I'm sending now over the meshes, and now you can see this is all quadded. Okay, I care about this kind of stuff because then there'll be more things that I might be able to do with this, right? i.e. now I can come in here, go to ZModeler, and I can do something like polygroup, polyloop, and say, okay, give me this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so all those purple ones there, and then same thing, let's go here, and then I'm gonna go here, then I'm gonna go here. Okay, got those. Let's go now to this one over here. Let's make sure I'm getting those. Okay, just getting the same thing everywhere, so I'm just looking with inside the mesh. And this is the benefit of having the ability to tell it I want quads instead of triangles, right? Because I can do this polylooping thing. And then now I can say, how about I just pull on this now, Q mesh, right? Polygroup all, and pull this out. Okay, and start pulling on this surface here, right, to get that. So now this can be used to do something like that now. Right? So this is the beauty of having that do this. Okay? And here I'll change my, so it's easier to see. Right? So you see, this is going to be the benefit. So now I've got flat with a chamfer in the middle of that. Right? So I'm having different stuff going on here. So again, we are continuing to develop here, right? So I'm giving you guys, hopefully this will calm you a little bit. You understand that all's well in the ZBrush world. We're still developing, we're still trucking along. And we thought this would be a great opportunity to show you guys some stuff that we're doing, okay? So again, our goal is to make a TIE fighter is what my goal has been for this stream. In this stream, I'm showing you guys just how I got to the blockout stage, how I started bringing in images, and how I started to use array mesh as a way to start making everything faster for me, right? And then by the time I stream again, I'm hoping to have the TIE fighter completely done. And then I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing some of these options, like how I'm doing stuff like this, right? So I can take, for example, this mesh. I'm just going to delete the subdivision levels for now, just so when I'm zooming, right? And like this, and then taking something like a morph brush, and I can start erasing stuff. Right, all these techniques that I'm doing in here, right? And then there's the top lid, front, and you can see the reflectivity of the stars and how I'm doing all these pieces in here. So I got a ways to go yet because I still got to do the back and then obviously finish off the wings, which there's a ton of stuff going on in the wings in here and through here. Okay, and then doing the part, I'll show you guys how I did all of this too. It's really easy. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys get as much as you can. So that's it for today. I don't have much time for anything else. Let me see if I missed any questions that came through from you all. Let me see. Hold on. I'm just seeing. They don't see left and right. I saw an article. You bring up something. How do the TIE fighters see left and right? I saw an interesting article someone wrote up as why the TIE fighters are one of the worst ships ever. It was in the 5 reasons. It was interesting. Like, you just think about the guns. The guns only shoot straight, right? They can't do anything like this. So the TIE fighter, that was like a great point that person was making. They have to go straight and be right in front of what they're trying to shoot at because there's only these 2 cannons. There's not much else. Okay? I can't say, Grim. I couldn't tell you. I can't talk about anything else about development, but I wanted to show you at least something that we are developing right now that you guys already know Bevel Pro exists, but want to know, look, we keep pushing Bevel Pro. So Bevel Pro, I like to call 2.0, is going to have chamfering now. So, well, if you have nice ideas, by all means, everyone, you can send it to my email. Whatever you want, send away. There's my email address. Okay, so right now, it's paul@pixologic.com. Obviously, once we join Maxon, all that's still going to... I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I'm assuming that all can still be forwarded to me. But right now, that's my email address. Okay? There's my email address. You've got it right there. And if you want to play safe, here, I'll give you my personal, if you want to just put both email addresses in, if you guys just want, if there's something really important that you guys want to reach out to me about, there's my personal email address. I'm looking at those 2 emails all day. Yeah, ZBrush Central is a way to contact me too. So at PixelPaul is my Pixologic ZBrush Central. There you go, at PixelPaul. John, the next stream from this model, I don't know, because we've got a lot going on with, we are off tomorrow for Christmas, and we're off. We're going to be off next Friday as well for New Year's. If I do it next week, I don't know if I'm going to have time next week. It would be next Thursday, but I think looking at the calendar, let me look at the calendar, John. You got a great question because we haven't booked. This was just one what you guys see as far as also by the TIE fighter. I've done all of this in 2 days, but not too because this is a question too hourly. I would say I've worked on this a total now of, let's see, 10 hours. I'd say total. This is 10 hours worth of work in here that you see right now. All right. Let's see, calendar wise. Let me see. So maybe the 30th, John. And if we do, we will 100% let you guys know when this stream's going to come out again. We'll have our social media posting, and then if we need to put it in anywhere else, we'll put it in there. As far as like the homepage, right? If we want to put it in here, the homepage, like it is right now, right here. We will definitely put it in here since you guys will want to see how I continued finishing this. And this is a ZBrush render, by the way, that you guys are seeing in this. That's a ZBrush render of the TIE Fighter. And then this is what I did last week, right? I think it was last week. So you guys can go watch. This is beginning to end in one stream. There's no way I was going to get TIE Fighter done in one stream. So to answer your question, John, it's most likely going to be possibly the 30th. I would probably lean a little bit more towards the 7th, but please keep an eye on our social medias and our newsletters, and our channel itself, ZBrushLive.com, has its own calendar that you can get reminding emails about. So I'll put that in there. If you guys have never gone to that, why not? Why not? Okay, so let me just show where that is as well. Let me visually put it up here for you, because right now it is streaming me and us. So right here, there's a calendar tab right up here. So if you guys go to this, you can see who are the next upcoming artists. And then if you go to the calendar, you can see the upcoming, you can go month by month by month. And then any one of these, you can get reminders, right? For any one of these. Okay, so if you want to, like on the 30th, you want to be reminded about Dice Case, you can come in here and then you can get an email reminder right here. Then you should get an email 24 hours before and an hour before. Okay? So that'd be all good resources for you. Email. Yes, I did. I replied to your email about the ornament. Did you not, Leonard, get my reply? I replied to you. You should have gotten a reply from me. Can you double check for me and make sure that went through? If not, I'll send it again. I don't know about car warranties. I'll try. Okay, I'm just catching up on questions. Hold on. Yeah, I did sculpting on the model, 100%. Yeah, there is sculpting on this model. All the scribe lining parts, that's all sculptural. Okay, and then all this stuff right in here, this is sculptural. This repeating pattern is actually sculptural. Everything else is it's hard surface. I don't need to do much. And really, you break it down, it's made up of just simple shapes. You just gotta, once you gotta go down and start looking at all the details. But it's simple shapes. It's not crazy. But sculpturally, that's what I have. But I'll end up doing more with this for sure. But most of the workflow is Z-modeler, array meshing, and then live booleans. But I'm having a lot of fun. I've always wanted to do one of these. So, I need to make that smaller. That's too big. I'll keep it. I'm going to print this out, so I'm going to keep it big. Okay, so there you go. And then I'm going to show you guys. And in fact, I'll probably end up also another bonus thing. When we start going in here, I'm going to give you guys another little thing about the stream here. I started making my TIE Fighter greeble brush. So pieces that I'm using on this. So by the end of it, I should have, I don't know, maybe 2025, and I'll be able to give you guys the final brush that I made with this as well. So if you guys wanted to go and make your own TIE Fighter. Listen, I do have the Millennium Falcon on my list. The Slave one would probably be the Boba Fett's would probably be a lot faster. Okay. Yeah, and I'm definitely going to 3D print the model. Yeah, I'm going to 3D print this. I'm a big 3D printer guy, so realistically, if you start looking at this, I should double check the width of this, depending on the size, right? Because that's pretty thin. So you should look at stuff like that if I'm going to 3D print this. All right, Leonard, hit me up again and let's see. Check. We'll double check. I don't know. You're talking on the ZBrush Live calendar itself. Let me go back. It's because it's the end of the year and we don't have January stuff in there yet. But let me see the calendar. Is that what you're talking about? The list on the calendar? It's showing correct for me. So today is the 23rd. So Oscar's going at 8 p.m. tonight, LA time. And then the 27th. And then he goes over midnight. I think we'll have to double check this, but he usually goes to midnight. These are all in order. Are you saying when you go in calendar mode? No, these are all correct. There's nothing wrong on my side. Oh, are you talking about like either in the calendar, or are you talking about when you actually click on, like you go to presenters? The way, I don't know if you people know this, you can go here and then you can click on a presenter. Like Ashley streams a lot. She streams practically every week. And then you go on here, you can get information about these artists. Right? Still showing online on YouTube for me. I'm still seeing me. Oh, it looks like. Is it back? Oh, I'm back now. Okay. All right. I look pixelated, so I'm getting a strong internet connection. I don't know. That's a sign that says you gotta go. So thank you, everybody. Keep an eye out for when we're gonna do the next part of this. This is Paul Gaboury with the ZBrush team. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic holiday. Please be safe. I'll see you at the next stream.